early indication from a phase 2 trial that was conducted with our lead principal investigator, Dr. Pedram Hamra, out of Tufts University in Boston, where I'm located, gave us a clear indication that there's a signal. And then looking at neuropathic corneal pain, in which this is a significantly underdiagnosed and unfortunately untreated condition with limited therapeutic options.
Welcome back inside our proactive newsroom, and joining me now is Robert Dempsey. He is the new CEO of OKYO Pharma. And Robert, it's good to see you. How are you?
I'm doing very well, Steve. Happy New Year, and thank you again for the opportunity.
Yeah, good to have you along. Excited to learn a bit more about you and what you have planned for the company. Is obviously Gary Jacobs, the former CEO, has now moved to the role of Chief Development Officer. So exciting things happening within the company. Let's
Yes.
talk about you first. Tell me a bit about your background.
Oh, well, thank you. But fortunate to have been in the ophthalmology space close to 30 years. I've worked with some of the major strategics, including Allergan, Bausch Lomb, and my most prominent position was global head of ophthalmology at Shire. At Shire, I was responsible for building out the entire franchise, for having arguably one of the best launches in the dry eye space. The team and I worked very diligently to introduce Xiidra first in the US, and then we went globally. Our launch in the US was arguably one of the best launches in the front of the eye, or as we like to call it, the anterior segment. So I was very fortunate to do that. And then in 2019, Takeda came along and acquired Shire. With that acquisition, I led the divestiture of the franchise to Novartis for all in $3.4 billion. With that transition, I decided to leave big pharma and go into the small biotech space, and where I've been the CEO of multiple companies focused on both anterior as well as posterior segment diseases. And I had the opportunity to join OKYO after having a conversation with the chairman of the board, and decided to jump in and address a significant unmet need in the area of neuropathic corneal pain that I think with our very promising program that we can address.
Yeah, Robert, is that what the excitement of around their lead candidate, is that what really drew you towards the job? What were some of the reasons? You obviously mentioned that you talked to the chairman of the board about where the company is at, where it could go. But is
Yeah.
that really one of the main reasons, just because of the technology and the product they have?
Yeah, and I think that the early indication from our phase 2 trial that was conducted with our lead principal investigator, Dr. Pedram Hamra, out of Tufts University in Boston, where I'm located, gave us a clear indication that there's a signal. And then looking at neuropathic corneal pain, in which this is a significantly underdiagnosed and unfortunately untreated condition with limited therapeutic options. And when I had an opportunity to do my research on the company, on the data, spend some time with Pedram Hamra, and obviously knowing the significant unmet need that exists in neuropathic corneal pain, I felt that this was an opportunity to make a significant difference. Having dealt with both the philanthropic organization focused on corneal health and having a tremendous amount of network in the area of cornea specialists, I felt this was a very exciting opportunity and one that I can make a significant difference in leading the organization.
Yeah, that was actually going to be my next question, was literally about contacts and people within the industry. You obviously have a very strong Rolodex, as they say, on people
Yes.
that are already in that particular field. So that puts you, I guess, light years ahead of where someone coming in who's more of the business person who's just trying to run a company.
Yeah, and I'm very fortunate again, having spent a majority of my career in understanding and launching programs for ocular surface diseases. Um, this was an opportunity when I checked out not only with the lead and principal investigator from my previous trial, but with physicians such as Victor Perez at Bascom Palmer, Jay Pepos from Missouri. It was a really wonderful opportunity to gain some insight from the top thought leaders and KOLs in the space. And they all came back with a resounding, Bob, this organization could use your expertise, your knowledge, your network in the ophthalmic arena. And getting endorsement from some of the top cornea specialists really helped lead me to the decision and the opportunity to lead the organization today.
Okay. Obviously, you've only been on the job a few days, so we're not going to, hit you with some, what's going to happen like in 5 years from now. But what are sort of some of your short-term goals that you'd like to get, given you
Yeah,
have 3, 6 months, a year, that kind of stuff?
yeah, I think it's very important, first and foremost, to understand the clinical development program and the
Yeah.
pathway and the timeline. We're going to have a very important meeting with the FDA in January. This will be a Type C meeting in which we will discuss with the FDA our protocol and our thoughts with regards to the clinical study, and getting their feedback is going to be instrumental. Then it's going to be game time. Then we have to look at the quotations from our CROs, determine the best path forward and who will be our partner moving forward. Then we have to finalize the protocol. Then we have to finalize the site selection and then move forward with activation of the clinical trial. Our goal is to obviously have first patient, first visit and in a reasonable timeline. I don't want to commit to that right now until I've had more time to evaluate the protocol, and obviously getting agency feedback will be critical. And then it's up to execution. So the team and I will work very diligently on identifying the right sites, working with the right sites to host a training, and we like to call it, an investigator meeting. And then it's game time to ensure we select the right patients who can be enrolled in this trial, and flawless execution is what I'm all about. So obviously very excited about kicking off this study later on this year.
Okay. And lastly, just the need that you're hoping to meet. You hear from people all the time about the painful eyes and things that are happening within the eyes, and it sounds like as the population ages, those become even more prevalent. Are you noticing that as well in all your experience, that this is something that could be a very positive for a need that needs to be met?
Absolutely. So let's take a step back and think about what these patients are experiencing. They're
Yeah.
experiencing severe ocular pain, burning and stabbing of the eye. So obviously these patients have to be treated not only with topical medications, but also systemic medications. And when you experience this level of pain that these patients experience, it is very, very debilitating. And what I mean by that is their quality of life is significantly impaired. So anything we can do from a safety and efficacy perspective to help these patients experience the life that we all know they deserve. Now, this could be caused by ocular injury, could be caused by ramifications of refractive surgery, but they are presenting to cornea specialists, and there are no other options available. So again, we have a unique opportunity to address a significant unmet need in which these patients are suffering. And reading some of the patient testimonials of our phase 2 study gave me further indication that this was the right choice I made to join the organization and lead us going forward.
Well, Robert, I really appreciate the time. Congratulations on the new role. I know we're going to have lots of opportunity over the next while to talk about developments within the company, but it's good to have you on this very first day, and I really appreciate your time again. Thanks
And
very much.
again, thank you very much, Steve. I appreciate the opportunity.
All right, there's Robert Dempsey. He is the new CEO of OKYO Pharma.